All right, homie.
Welcome, everyone, to the SnapCast podcast with your hosts, Mike Cooley and Brad O'Brien. What's going on, everybody? If this is your first time joining us on this little podcast we got going on here, then let me tell you a little bit about what it's about, all right? This is a Magic the Gathering podcast where we talk about magic and magic-related things and occasionally some human life discussions that can get pretty deep.
Human interest
pretty deep. So, yeah, how are you guys doing today? Welcome, everybody. We're a little bit early today because we have the Arena Games 2.0 going on in the Diablo community later today. So I am going to be someone who is a presenter in that. I'm going to be streaming with Mr. Llama SC.
Show off.
Super pumped. But yeah, that's what's going on later. So we had to do the cast a little earlier today. So yeah, bear with us. Instead of beers, I'm rocking coffee today. That's how early we're doing this, really.
Oh man, see, we're also we're trying to fit that in alongside kind of doing this on a reasonable lunch break period, so that I can keep my job. And,
yes, exactly. Trying to get it in, do some good old lunchtime snapcasting. This is it's pretty good, man. I feel like I was telling you this before the cast. I woke up early today because I didn't wake up early. I took the day off today because there's so much stuff going on, and I figured I would wake up early, get things done, and I still woke up around 9, and I'm like, I still got plenty of time to do stuff. But then I made the crucial mistake of checking on the stonk market. Ever since I've been an active member of that, I'm like, all right, now I got to check on the stonks. And I have learned in my time of stonk playing, right? Don't get greedy. It's sort of like we say all the time with magic cards. I got to keep my advice going in the stonk market too.
No, plan your out. Be comfortable with your out.
Yeah, exactly. It's when you buy into something and you're like, I'm buying into this because I think it will spike quite a bit. Well, when it spikes quite a bit, you need to admit okay, I have to let this go, even though it's been really good to me because it spiked quite a bit. You know what I mean? Don't get emotionally attached to the stonks, especially, the really volatile stuff like cryptocurrencies and shit. That's where it gets crazy. I checked on this GBTC stock, which it's supposed to follow the Bitcoin price, but I looked over time and it's really not following it. So I cashed out of a small loss on that just because I didn't have any faith in it. I was like, if you're not going to follow the stock price or the price of Bitcoin, I'm not going to keep it.
Yeah. So,
I lost $20 on that. But Ethereum, the stock ticker ETH, I call it ETHE, is following Ethereum quite well. And Ethereum has gone through the roof, dude.
So I guess I just don't understand why you're doing ETHE instead of just actually buying Ethereum.
Because my avenues to buy Ethereum are PayPal. You know what I mean?
Gotcha, okay.
I don't know exactly how to buy it. Buy it directly and own a piece of Ether. You know what I mean?
Start with
not only that.
vial,
I mean, even if I did know, I wouldn't want to. It seems like I would have to go through some other avenue, and it's I don't really want to. There are plenty of people out there doing it. I'm happy just being invested in something that doesn't cost me anything to buy or sell, and that follows the price of the commodity.
You're not digging my joke.
I didn't even hear it. What did you say?
I said you have to start with an ether vial.
Oh shit. Yeah, we're also, so you guys might have also noticed we're I am not actually I'm not actually sitting on top of the table over here in the cast. I'm actually superimposed into it. So we're doing this remotely over Zoom. So if I don't hear Brad's jokes, it's because I'm not right there, and it's a microphone interruption through Zoom. So if I don't get your jokes, it's not because they're not funny. It's probably because I didn't hear them.
Well, I know they're funny. Are you doing the thing where you watch the stream on YouTube as well?
I'm trying to actually. I'm waiting for it to pop up. There it is, finally.
Oh, that's
Perfect.
weird. Well, I'm glad it actually started streaming.
Yeah, jam. Yeah, well, it just took a while for me to get notified on actual browser. But hey,
Oh,
there we are. Look at that, man. I'm just like chilling right there. Nice job setting this up. Gosh, your skills with the video are insane. And for the people who are just listening to it, Brad's got me like superimposed. I got a green screen behind me so I can block out the background, and he's got me superimposed over like the SnapCast background with his with his camera right there. God, it looks good.
I mean,
Nice job.
it almost looks like the old school setup where we used to sit side by side instead of
Right?
across from one another.
Looks good, man. Well done.
Um,
Absolutely well done.
and for people that have been paying attention for a while, either listening or on Facebook, we're coming back into the summer season. I have a bunch of gigs coming up. This may end up being par for the course. As much as I love hanging out in person with Mike and sitting side by side in that excitement, we may be doing more of these sort of remote sessions.
Yeah, Brad's going to be getting all busy when the economy's opening back up, and he's going to be playing music, doing gigs, making the world happy with music.
Making me
we'll
happy.
I
mean, I love doing this, but if I get to actually play bass and get paid,
got to do it, man.
I gotta
do it. But
Same.
also, it's like we always say, it's like the weekly therapy session. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel so good after these, just talking about something other than Diablo 2 or, regular work or even stonks.
Or institutional research
from the stonks.
Yeah.
It feels good. It feels really good. And then this game, anybody who plays it should absolutely love and appreciate it. And we do. And we try to make the best suggestions for you guys, for cards to look at, cards to keep an eye on, cards to pick up. And we got some of those today.
We do.
But please forgive if they come from any sort of salty standpoint that Brad might have over the historic format.
Listen, the biggest thing that got me salty this week was somebody playing Expropriate in a game of Commander recently. And that was, they were already in a winning position, so it was like insult to injury.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody at the table should know at this point, this person is the threat. Based one on their board. They were playing Joda, which is basically it's basically another Golo stack. That it's all huge spells that you're gonna play for 5 mana. Except with Joda, you technically only get to do one a turn, unlike Golos. And Expropriate, and everybody's going around the board, and they're like, take a turn, and I'm like, give him whatever your best thing is. He's already going to get a turn because people that play Expropriate always vote time for themselves. And so, somebody takes 3 turns, and I'm the only one that's like, nope, he can have my thing, and then he's going to beat me to death with it.
Oh, yikes.
It's pretty salt-inducing.
Yeah, Expropriate is one of those cards. It's so vicious, man. It's so vicious. I've kind of wanted to get my hands on one of those for a while, but it's always been through the roof in price. As it should be.
I heard a great take on, I think it was Brainstorm Brewery's podcast, and it was our friend Jason All who said, Insurrection is a great card for when everybody wants the game to be over. But when you play those spells when people are not ready for the game to be over or feel like they haven't had a chance to play the game. So I'm lumping sort of Expropriate and Insurrection and honestly, for most people, mass land destruction, like all of those things fall into that category of, if you're going to play this and win the game, and we've been playing for an hour and a half and everybody's, or 2 hours and everybody's just ready to be done.
Right.
It's great. Just pull the cord, kill me, I'm ready to be done. But when you're like, turn 6, just finished establishing your board, and somebody's like, great, Insurrection, kill all of you.
No, I'm just looking up Insurrection over here because, that's I had to be reminded of exactly what this is. And if you want to cut to me here, I can show people exactly what Insurrection is. So it is a sorcery for 8 mana, and it says untap all creatures and gain control of them until end of turn. They gain haste until end of turn. That's a game ender right there.
That is a game
What's a little
ender.
flavor here? It says maybe they wanted to be on the winning side for once.
Sons of
Sick.
bitches.
Good flavor. Good,
Yeah.
good flavor. Yeah, that's I mean, I can definitely see that with with the expropriate card. It's just someone plays it and the game is over, like whether you want to admit it or not. Like if they play that and it's good timing for it, the game's over. It's and I think you're right. If people are ready for the game to be over, great. That's a card usually if someone plays it and it's like a full board of commander, I just scoop because I'm like, the best option here, believe it or not, to make him not win is for me to actually concede.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Make it a less of a play for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this brings up another recent point of contention. And first guest we ever had on the podcast was Waldo.
Yes.
He is absolutely adamant that players should only concede from a game of EDH at sorcery speed.
I think that's a fair dinkum way to look at it.
And I can't argue the logic, but there's emotion involved in a scoop in Commander.
Yeah, I think there is. I think it's it takes out of the equation the fact of kind of what I just said. Like when someone, like let's say you're on a team, right? Like you're doing team EDH and you got 2v2, right? And it's not two-headed giant. Sometimes scooping can actually be a good move and like conceding. In like, for example, in those scenarios,
Yeah,
where someone plays expropriate,
yeah,
and just for the fact that I have a vote here, both of them are bad. And the best option might actually just, if I want my team to win, and this person to not take 2 or 3 additional turns or gain permanence, it might just be to concede. And that way they get 1 less turn or 1 less permanent. And my partner has the opportunity to come back. You know what I mean?
And so in the game or in one of the games that I wanted to concede early on, I had a City of Solitude in play. And it was a 4-person game. I went, the person after me, I don't even, so this is a different game. This is not the expropriate game. This was another game where the person after me did something ridiculous. And it was like destroy all creatures you don't control. And they had a massive board. And I looked at my board and my hand and knew there was literally nothing that I could do effectively in the next 2 or 3 turns. And I wanted to scoop so bad, and everybody else at the table's like, well, if you scoop, then the City of Solitude is gone. And I was like, okay, that's true. But this person also stole my Beast Whisper. So every time they play a creature, they're drawing cards. So my scooping it had so many ramifications on the board. And even though I knew that I was just going to have to sit there and wait 2 other players' turns to scoop on my turn, was weird, but I get it. It's the right thing to do. And I still like when you get in that position when you're like, I'm no longer actually playing this game. Why am I stuck here?
Right. It's one of those things. I think scooping at sorcery speed is the thing to do in like a casual commander game. I would agree with it. If you're trying to win, if you're playing the game to win, I don't think you shouldn't be restricted to it. Like, because if you're playing to win, even if you're in a multiplayer game, sometimes if you're just like, okay, I'm going to lose this game, how about I just scoop my cards and the game ends even quicker? Like, you know what I mean? Like the entire game ends even quicker. I know I'm already gone. Like, let's just go to game 2 and, go to next game. I feel like you can't stop a player from not wanting to play. Like that's.
Well, and it's interesting because when you put it that way about it, sort of being casual and it's multiplayer, I think that my mindset comes from constructed 1v1, which is like, okay, I can read the tea leaves. I'm not coming back from this game. It's one of the only things that's kept me from smashing my iPad on Arena is to say, I don't have to fucking participate in this anymore.
I don't have to watch you do whatever stupid things your deck is trying to do.
Man, last night I tried to actually do some streaming here on the channel of Historic Humans because I was playing Humans, this sort of 3-color variant, maybe an Esper Humans list on my iPad, like laying on the couch. Played for an hour and I was crushing it. I thought, man, maybe this deck is actually good in Historic. And so I was about 9:30. So let me come upstairs. Spent a half an hour updating Arena on the iMac, waiting for that to load up, set up a OBS thing for playing the game, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
By the time I got it running, the video on the camera was lagged to shit. Nobody could actually tell what I was saying and doing. There was no point in me having the video on. For some reason, the audio was fine. And I'm having all these problems. Meanwhile, Arena's like, okay, you're streaming now? Let me pair you up against Jeskai Control. Let me pair you against Esper Yorion. Let me pair you up against every deck in the format that has... And Historic is redonkulous.
Oh my God.
And I'll be honest, I haven't played a whole lot of it. Every couple of months, I've dabbled to play a Historic deck to see if Humans were viable. Did we just get a chat?
We did. Jason Clark says, from a rules perspective, 104.3a applies regardless. The sorcery thing is a house rule. It makes all kinds of sense, but it's still a house rule. Yep. So he's talking about scooping at sorcery speed. Yeah, it's 100%. Like I agree. You can't stop somebody from playing when they don't want to play, and that was especially good for you last night. You know, like you said on Arena when. Yeah, you're playing against these decks that are like the absolute bane of humans and what you're trying to do, and it's like, okay, like once you get the game, I don't have to play anymore. Like,
dude, I mean, like those Jeskai decks, they have shock, but why would they play shock? They're okay playing Lightning Strike, they're okay playing the new Rip Apart, they're okay playing, you know, they have just tons of, they have friggin' Lightning Helix, like. And then they have Deafening Clarion. So as a 3-mana board wipe, basically, for Humans. All of the black decks have... I ended up playing... I think the last game that I played might have been off-stream. Or it might have been the last... Yeah, it was the last game I played. I played it off-stream, was against Elves. And it was like mono green Elves splashing black for the tribal -3/-3 to all creatures.
Damn.
So pick a tribe. All creatures that are not of that tribe get -3/-3.
Yikes.
That's pretty good in Elves where they have legacy playable cards like Allosaurus Shepherd.
Yeah.
Dwynen's Elite.
Historic is just getting nuts. I mean, Brainstorm is allowed in it. Like, so you see so many, like I looked at some some historic lists, and
you got them up now?
Yeah, I got them up right now. I can bring this up and just show you, like, there's so many blue variants in here just because of Brainstorm. Brainstorm is a very, very powerful card. I mean, Arclight, Phoenix, Cycling, Aggro. I'm not sure. Is this no, this is like a Zenith Flare deck, but like, look at all the blues. Indomitable Creativity. These are the decks that didn't make top 8. You got Indomitable Creativity, another Indomitable Creativity, Arclight Phoenix, Dimir Aggro. So like at least half of those are blue. And then you have Tamer Control, Jeskai Control, Dimir Mill Rogue, Jeskai Control, Dimir Mill Rogue. Brainstorm is just
running this format.
It's really like, I mean, I can really appreciate Historic, wanting to do all of this awesome stuff and bring these cards in. Well, but like, god damn, dude, like Brainstorm is so powerful.
Brainstorm, when you can throw it in, lock, Fatal Push, Inquisition of Kozilek. They can have Thoughtseize if they want.
Oh my god, it's so, but like, yeah, when you put this, I mean, how insane is this? Brainstorm in the same deck as Drown on a Lock, like you said, Fatal Push, Inquisition, Like, and even hell, I mean, they ain't got no good counter spells yet. Why not throw a memory lapse in there? Like,
I mean, that's a pretty
this
good
deck,
counterspell.
first of all, I gotta say, is insane. This deck is awesome. Like Dimir Mill Rogue. I like it even without Brainstorm.
Oh yeah.
But just the fact that like you can have these insanely powerful cards in there. I mean, I like where they're going. They just need to bring more insane cards in, I think. Give us Ether Vial. Like, give us some of the crazy insane stuff.
And that's the thing, like they specifically made the choice in this format. Let me bring you back to, of course, hotkeys aren't working. They specifically made the choice to say Path is too good, Lightning Bolt is too good, and kind of, I mean, but you've got all these other super powerful cards, especially in black. So many of these decks are splashing black. All of these new mystical archive cards are just wreaking havoc on the format. People are playing like Simic Taking Turns decks. I didn't necessarily see any in that particular list, but it's the format is super powerful without having. I almost feel like that format looks to me like old school Magic in the sense that spells are better than creatures.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, there's some, like for example, all of the Indomitable Creativity decks are just, they're like think of like wicked old school Vintage and Legacy where you didn't see many creatures.
Yeah.
They're just running like it almost looks like an Oath deck. Like it's like a historic Oath deck. You know what I mean? They're oathing in the Torrential Gearhulk and casting busted sorceries. You know what I mean? That's the format it's headed towards. At this point in time, I think that spells definitely have, the spells outweigh the creature power at this point. But that is, if you don't completely commit to something like goblins. Goblins with Moxus is pretty insane, but it's very one-dimensional. It's very aggressive. You know what I mean? Like
and it's basically disappeared since the Mystical Archive came out.
Right. And the same thing, though, oddly enough, could be said for the early days of Legacy. You had like the decks that were just super busted with spells, and they had goblins, which was just too aggressive for them. And, it could just come out so quickly and, have just enough disruption or just enough power to get under what you're trying to do and force you to have that board wipe or force you to have that tribal wipe. You know what I mean? On turn 3, it's like, if you don't have it, you are dead. You're not going to get another turn. And even if you have it, it ain't going to kill Muxus. Like, it ain't going to do what you want it to do. So yeah, it's definitely, I would agree with that. It's kind of looking like the early day, like the, years and years ago of Legacy, which, hey, could be a good thing. I think it could be the start of a good thing. It's at this point, I'm just asking for more busted cards to be thrown in here. That's all. That's really all we need.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, and the other thing is, people want more than 3 decks. Standard is supposedly the most popular format, but really, once Standard basically gets solved, there's 3 decks, maybe 4 decks in a good Standard that competitive players can play. In Historic, you're starting to see basically a modern metagame of like all of these 5% of the metagame decks that are each powerful. So people can have a pet deck. They can play, you can play one of 10 or 12 decks and maybe have a shot. But I'll tell you what, and not to say that, Humans has fallen way down the post in Modern as well. Mm-hmm. But without Thalia's Lieutenant or Manus Rider, like basically without haste and without being able to actually swell your team up, they don't have a goddamn shot in Historic right now. There's tons of disruption, but you can't make that pay off. Like, right. I've got the Meddling Mages and the Silver Quills and the Kite Sail Freebooters, and then the 3-mana one, the Paulo Vito D'Armadurosa championship card that makes a spell in their hand cost 2 more. And it's great, maybe against a slow deck, but even the slowest decks can board in 8 Wraths, and you just are never going to keep up with that.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. One thing that I did, I'm gonna call this a snap this up this week,
Okay.
but I'm not sure at this point if it's you never know these days how much they're gonna reprint something, how many special versions of a card are gonna be out there. But there is a card from Strixhaven that is coming out.
It's out. Well, I
I
guess Friday, tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, coming out very, very soon. That I think is currently underpriced for the power level of this card, because I'm looking at Jim Davis's list.
Bring it up.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I'm looking at Jim Davis's list. Let me switch over. And I'm seeing some really crazy stuff, right? Like the spirit of this deck, first of all, the Indomitable Creativity deck, is sort of like I alluded to. It's almost like it reminds me of an Oath deck, really. Like, it's just it's like
that.
It's just trying to cheat in a big creature and win, right? But one of the ways that it staves off to get there, right? To buy itself some time to get there, is with this card called Prismari Command. And I don't even know how I didn't notice this card at first through like the spoilers or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at his list, and especially with the person playing it, I have a lot of respect for Jim Davis. I think he's a very creative deck builder, a very good player. And this card being in his deck, it drew even more attention to me, because I didn't see it in a lot of like the Jeskai control decks or whatnot. I'm looking at a Jeskai control deck right now. I don't see Prismari Command in here at all, but I think something like this could be insanely good. And here's why. This card reminds me of Kolaghan's Command.
Mm-hmm.
In every sense of the word. Like in 85, I'm going to guess, completely anecdotal guess, 85% of its uses, it will exactly be a Kolaghan's Command, if not slightly better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So here's what it does. I'm going to bring it up on TCG here. You can see the price as well. But this is what it does. It says choose 2. So it's one of those instant cards for 3 mana, a red, a blue, a colorless. It says choose 2. It deals 2 damage to any target. Target player loots 2. Target player creates a treasure token, or destroy target artifact. So I would say probably 85% of the cases, if you're trying to stave off, you're going to do the 2 damage and destroy target artifact. You know what I mean? When those opportunities present themselves, which in a format like this, I think it's
the
it's
2
there.
for 1 is clutch. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, this gets rid of opposing torrential gear hulks. It gets rid of an artifact that people are setting up to destroy for a potential Indomitable Creativity play. It kills all of the little things on top of doing something else. Even if you don't have that artifact, being able to loot 2, especially in a deck where you're trying to combo off and get something out of the graveyard, or even just ramping up with a treasure token. All of these things, not bad choices at all in any sense of the word. There's always situations where these are going to be good. And the fact that it gives you that choice of 2 is just so insane. It's going to be at best a 2 for 1, and at best or at worst, like you're going to loot to get to your combo, or loot to set something up, or even just ramp up into a bigger play.
Well, and this deck wants to pitch. So if you go back to Jim's list,
yeah, it wants to pitch the big.
It wants to pitch the Magma Opus, and then cast Torrential Gearhulk to get it back.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's ideally what it's trying to do. Like that's in this deck, it makes a ton of sense. Like, in this deck, you're going to be looting, throwing these types of cards in the graveyard and looking for a Torrential Gearhulk, or just looking for an Indomitable Creativity to cheat in your Gearhulk.
What's the Outburst card? The one right above that? Creative Outburst?
Yeah, so this is another one that it gets into the graveyard and tries to cheat out. Creative Outburst is a 7 mana card, instant. And it says it deals 5 damage to any target. Look at the top 5 cards of your library. Put one of them in your hand and the rest in the bottom in a random order. just very high amounts of damage. You get a 6/5 coming in from Torrential Gear Hulk that's going to do 5 damage to something else, probably the player. It's just a big swing.
And then there's something that looks like trinket text on Creative Outburst and Magma Opus, right?
Yes. Yep. So you have the little trinket text here is if you have this in your hand, you can actually discard it and create a treasure token for 2 mana. 2 mana, discard it, create a treasure token. So you ramp up and you put this in your graveyard.
Exactly. I mean, the synergy there is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. Great synergy there. Very, very good card when you're trying to cheat in a Torrential Gear Hulk and get it back. And, Magma Opus as well can do the same thing. You can discard it and create a treasure token.
Mm-hmm.
So you're putting it in your graveyard. Just the synergy with those cards in this particular deck is really, really good. They do a lot of things. Magma Opus, I had not even heard of this before. And this card's nuts. Magma Opus is an 8 mana instant.
I mean, it's a mythic for a reason.
Yeah, like Torrential Gear Hulk will let you cast it for free. But listen to all the shit this does. 4 damage divided as you choose among any number of targets. Tap 2 target permanents. Create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token and draw 2 cards. So that's holy shit. Can you imagine a Torrential Gear Hulk coming in, casting that out of your graveyard? It just gets the game turns out of your favor so quickly, and especially if it goes late game and they can actually cast a Torrential Gear Hulk that they have in their hand. God, man, doing that right on someone's upkeep or something. That's just vicious. That's just game ending.
I'm thinking, okay, end step, flashing, of course, thinking EDH, end step, flashing Torrential Gear Hulk, cast Magma Opus, tap down your Winter Orb so that I can tap my board.
Oh, man.
Tap down your Trinosphere. I'm ready.
Exactly. It's so crazy, man. I'm telling you.
This looks like a fun deck. The only thing. Oh, that's awesome. Your head just popped in over the screen.
Yeah, we'll get it in here.
Oh god.
Oh, hold up. We get it. I'm trying to get it so you guys can see my facial reactions and shit there
you go.
When I look at these cards.
Cooley's showing his OBS prowess. But the card that I see.
We'll get there.
Okay. Hopefully this doesn't change the other screen.
Nah, it shouldn't. It should be good. But yeah, I mean, just a very good deck, very good synergy in here. But that card in particular, when I saw that, I was like, man, Prismari Command just seems really, really underpriced right now. That's, it's a Kolaghan's Command, which went up to $20-$25, somewhere around there, even more possibly. And this is you can get them for between $2 and $4. You can see over here, you can get it for $3.88. Again, it's tough to call these, especially before they're released, before the set actually comes out, because the price could go down. And they could reprint it in so many different versions, but this card seems really powerful.
I agree with you that
under
this
$4.
Card is nuts. All right, so let's go back to the screen. I am gonna push back just a little on getting that now because the set doesn't even come out in paper legally until tomorrow. And where this set has all of the Mystical Tutor alternate art cards and the Japanese alternate art cards, I think this is going to be one of those sets where main set card prices are going to get crushed. So,
you could be right.
I mean, I think it's telling that it's almost $4 for a rare right now. But I would expect you could get these for half that next week once people have cracked all the packs, because really people want, and I am people, want these Mystical Archive cards. I've seen a few in person now from people that have pre-ordered product and got it on pre-release day. They are so cool. They are so cool to look at. And actually, so I'm not ready to declare any snap this ups yet. But here's the thing. People are going to want people are going to want their ops, their negates, their brainstorms, their swords to plowshares, their Teferi's protections, right? Out of those Mystical Archive alternate arts, people are going to want their demonic tutors, their Inquisition of Kozilek's, their tainted packs, and things like that are top name cards. Lightning Bolt. Holy crap, there's just so many good cards here, and the art is so cool. But here's the thing. You're going to have like these weird... Snakeskin Veil is a card that we talked about a few times, right?
Mm-hmm.
They've immediately reprinted that in an alternate art cool frame, but it's only seeing a little bit of play in maybe one modern deck. I'm going to be looking for the chaff of the Mystical Archive alt art cards. Right? So, people, Lightning Helix is going to be going for a pretty good price right out of the gate. But are people going to be necessarily looking at, what's a good playable one? Well, Chaos Warp will definitely be sought after.
Oh yeah.
I mean, most of these are just so good cards that it's hard. Ephemerate. So there's another one that only sees play in constructed formats, basically in one deck, the Bant Soul Herder deck.
Yep.
But I think that card has the potential to show up in a ton more decks. And I think, honestly, any white creature deck in EDH should probably run it, because you're going to be using either ETBs or you're protecting your creature for 1 mana.
Right.
Somebody goes to exile your indestructible Avacyn, and you go, I'm going to blink it for 1.
Easy.
Easy
peasy.
I mean, it's blink for 1 mana.
Yeah. It's good, man. And it rebounds.
Yeah.
Like, it's there's so much value in it with ETB effects. It's a really good card. But I think you're right. I think you bring up a good point in the sense of like, there's going to be a lot of people looking for that stuff. You're going to have people playing the lottery, buying packs,
and just
buying boxes. And they're, that's why I say I'm not sure if I could really call it a snap this up as much as like, hey, keep your eye on this. Like, you know what I mean? Because this card is, I think, being underlooked right now. Like it's not being given as much credit as the power level would suggest it has. You know what I mean? And so it's one of those things. Yeah, you might be right. Like you might see a big dip in the price, even at, below $4 at this point. Like you might see a big dip in that, maybe down to $2. But like at that point, it's one of those cards where like, I will definitely pick it up at that in case I ever want to play this. Mm-hmm. Like it's an eternally playable card. It's one I would definitely want to have in my collection. And I feel like whenever a card sings that song to you, it's not a bad idea to pick it up at $2.
No,
you know what I mean?
You could always take that long-term view of saying it's $4 right now. If you get a play set for 16 and it goes down to 2, yeah, you paid $8 extra. But if in a year it's a $5 card, it doesn't matter.
Right. And this would be one of those cards I would just buy and probably not like I wouldn't spec on it like, oh, I think this is going to go up in price so much. It's more of like, I kind of want this in my collection because it's a very powerful card, and I don't think it's going to get much cheaper than what it is right now. You know what I mean? And like you said, it might go down to $2 or so. But I think when people realize like, oh shit, this is another Kolaghan's Command in colors that usually don't get, the luxury of doing such a thing, then it's gonna really show its true colors. I think like it's gonna show its true power level.
Right on. I think obviously Strixhaven is new. There are a lot of people sort of saying this set is not impacting. It's been on Arena and it's been on Moto for a week as of today, and people are saying it's doing nothing in Standard, but it's showing up in older formats. So I think it will be very interesting between the chase cards in the paper packs and the EDH and Eternal plays that we might have a shot at getting a lot of these inset rares on the cheap either for our collection or, and you know, we'll talk about it in the coming weeks. One's 2-spec on that will have that, you know, 1 year to 18 month lag where all of a sudden this card that was, you know, people was in their draft chaff because really all they cared about was the special printing of Inquisition of Kozilek or whatever it is, that we're going to get them for $1 or $2, and they're going to be the $10, $15 cards of Standard next year.
Yeah. I mean, by the very least, right? Like with a card such as that Prismari Command, by the very least, if they do print this in, you know, extended art foil, I'm pretty sure there's already alt arts out there that we know about. But get those, because this is going to be, by the very least, a very, very usable card in Commander. And in what K-Flag in our game last week said, you know, the red blue decks are just garbage, you know, absolute dumpster fires right now. Like there's not really many good ones out there. So when cards of this power level are printed, it encourages decks of those colors in Commander. And when they do take off, this will be a card in practically all of them. You know, it's very, very powerful. I think for sure, by the very least, if those cards, if those full arts or foils or whatnot go down to a reasonable price of this card, it would definitely be a pickup.
Right on, man. So I think next week we're hoping to have our episode on spotting fakes. What do you think?
I like it, man. So we had kind of alluded to this in a few episodes back where we talked about, you know, we just kind of have passively picked up some knowledge over the years of spotting fake cards and, you know, knowing what to look for, what to feel for. You know, I've been surprised over the years by some fakes. There has even been, Brad was telling me last week that there's been some high level card graders out there that have been tricked by fakes.
Yeah.
That when I heard about their mistake, I think it was it PSA?
It was BGS that authenticated a reback. But yeah. Let's not spoil next week.
Yeah, but it was just, you know, it was one of those things where like I have tricks to know that something is a reback that not a lot of people have. Like that I'm finding out. It took me literally putting the card on eBay to sell it and someone messaging me on eBay saying, hey, I just want to let you know this is a reback. And I'm like, you're kidding me. Prove it to me. And he's like, check this out. And I'm like, no shit. You are 100% right.
We're going to tell you all about that. We're going to put some cards here on camera on the table. I did get on loan a collection of proxies that another local player collector had ordered, sort of for the same thing that you had said, which is to just keep an eye on how good they're getting. So
yeah,
I'm looking forward to sharing some tips on how to identify those. I've certainly learned a lot. You know, when they say you buy a new car and then suddenly you see that car everywhere? Now I'm looking at all my cards going, are you legit? Are you legit? You bastard.
Yeah.
So I think that'll be fun to talk about. Next week, we'll give you some real solid information to take with you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it, my man.
You got anything else you want to talk about today?
Dude, that's it for me. I'm excited to see Strixhaven come out and officially be released and see what effects it has, not only on standard, you know, and historic, but on all of the formats out there. See what older formats start using Strixhaven cards. So stay tuned. We'll be keeping an eye on that and bringing you up to date with some of the cool things. And don't be surprised at all if this Prismari Command shows up in those older formats, possibly modern, definitely modern, I would guess, but don't be surprised. We'll be looking at these as they pop up and giving you the update on them so that hopefully you can stay in the know.
Flashing back Faithless Looting, right? I get to draw 2, discard 2. It's for 3. It's like I've flashed. I'm ready to play Phoenix again, brother. All right.
Hell yeah.
Thank you for zooming in with me, and we got this episode out. I'm super excited. Hopefully I will see you next week in person.
Absolutely, brother. Everybody, if you haven't already, please like the video, share the video, tell all your friends about it. bring some attention to the SnapCast podcast, and we will see you next week.
Woo!